This meeting is being live streamed. That's exciting.
Yeah. All right. Here we are. Yay. And let me just have us in here. Good. Side by side. So everybody can see us. All right, good. So welcome, Francesca, and I'm going to welcome everybody here listening. So if you are here live with Francesca and I, we are diving into transformation, and we're going to find out about transformation in Francesca's life, and we're going to talk about transformation in a big sense for human consciousness and for us. And so if you are listening and you're here with us live, please put in the chat, say hello, let me know where you're coming in from. And also too, as we go through the interview, if you've got any questions, like anything comes up and you're like, wow, like I hadn't thought of that, or geez, I wonder how, please write your question in. Now, Francesca and I are going to go in afterwards. I didn't mention that, Francesca.
Guys.
We're going to go in afterwards and we're going to respond to all of your questions. So yeah, please feel free to do that. And thank you so much. Thank you for your interest in coming in and being interested in this topic and your life. So Francesca, thank you. Thank you for being you're willing to be interviewed here. And do you want to just introduce yourself, let people know a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm Francesca. I live in beautiful Portland, Oregon. I've been with my partner for almost 16 years, and I do specialized family care, which originally was a job 6 years ago that started out as being a nanny. And then just kind of kept elevating and expanding into taking care of a very busy professional couple. Their 2 kids, one of whom happens to have special needs, just a little angel in my life, and a very fluffy dog. So I've been doing that for almost 6 years, and I love my work. And I did a lot of group childcare before, had my own small business, and then just really wanted to focus my energies on one family. Also, I'm getting older and didn't have the same vigor that I did for a large group. So that's what I've been doing, pretty steady. And also I got sober about 12 years ago, and that really shifted me out of a very desperate life into what I thought was a very balanced, happy, ordinary existence, which is what I was craving and what I was striving for. But then I got stuck. So that is how I came into meeting you.
Oh, wow. What a journey. And I know that just from our working together and you're sharing with me that you have been through so much more. And so I look forward to getting into that a little bit more too. Now, there are so many programs out there. There's so many courses out there. And sometimes it can be hard to choose, with all the, pick me, and this is fantastic, and this does great work. And when you're dealing with that, like, what is it that, how do you choose woman beat your drum? Because you've done lots of work before. You're not a newbie to this at all. So what is it that had you choose this program over anything else?
Well, last year, my partner had a really significant mental health crisis, and it was an eye-opener for both of us. He needed to learn how to manage himself and his connection to the world very differently than he had been. And for me, it was just a call to arms. It's like, okay, baby, how are we gonna, power through this? This is new for both of us. I got you, you got me. We're gonna figure it out. And we did. But one of the sort of unanticipated outcomes of that process for him was I took a pretty unflinching look at my own head and my own way in the world and realized that I was really, really dissatisfied with where I was. And it become sort of just like so fundamentally uncomfortable um, that I realized I really had to change something, but I didn't know what it was, Leanne. I mean, I had felt I like to pride myself on my curiosity and my ambition and my willingness and excitement about exploring ways to self improve. And I just felt like I had done all of it. I had done years and years and years with different therapists. I had done, all sorts of like vision questing and soul searching and trying to get answers for myself and trying to break through limitations that I just didn't understand how to disrupt. And I was looking on a whole bunch of different platforms for information. I was turning 50, and that happened to me during the pandemic. I'm a Sag, and it was not at all okay for me not to have a big giant celebration with all the people that I know and love. And I just felt so awful. I just felt like I was like, oh my God, I'm middle aged. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything exciting or meaningful. And after all of that stuff, I just started being very open to. I asked the universe to please hook me up with the right teacher. This is the right time. I'm aware of that part. I don't know who that person is. And so I really, thought about therapy. I don't want to do any more therapy. I got that part, wasn't that. But there's this very deep spiritual call for help. And so I was reading on a website for women, and that's where I encountered you in conversation with some other people. And I just immediately was like, oh, gosh, she has like just a great vibe about stuff. And then I was reading your conversations with these other women, and then one of them said, I just finished reading your book. And I was like, hey, oh, she wrote a book. What? And so then I started researching that. And then I got both of your books and read those and kept kind of bumping into you. And then you and I started a conversation. And then you were asking me some questions about, like, what are my goals going forward for where I am right now? And that's how we started talking about stuff. And I just really want to make sure that, like, you weren't a cult leader or like something. Yeah, because I do that. I get like, I'm like, yeah, hey, and then it's like, oh no, like, where have I wandered? So I really, really vetted you, and I'm like, because all these people are just like, she's amazing, and I've been taking her classes for 20 years, and I'm like, who are you? So I really wanted to find that out for myself, and I wanted to feel how I felt about how you worked on your journey. And like, my question was like, what qualifies her to tell me how to be? Okay, because that was the place where I came from. And you answered all my questions. I just really loved your hair. Everything was so cool about you. And I was just like, wow, I don't know. I hope she thinks I'm cool. I was real concerned about that. Like, I don't know if I'm cool enough to hang with cool lady over there. And I wore makeup, like full makeup, to the first session, because I wanted to wow you with my amazing look. And then I just ended up like having so many wide open emotional moments with you, and I teared up and wrecked my makeup. And I was like, that's so fun. That was it. Take the mask off, And so that's how I came into things with you, as masked and afraid and nervous and like a fifth grader. And
Well,
now
I'm
I'm
just, I
here
mean,
to
I
feel
moved right
differently.
now, like just in listening to you, just be so honest and open. And, just, I'm just really moved, because that is what goes on, right? In our ego is, I want to be loved. I want to be accepted. I want to be liked for who I am. And, and then we don't like ourselves. And so we put on this mask
Yeah.
to try and be liked, and try and be successful. And that's part of the problem, is that we're so busy trying to be who we think we should be, we're supposed to be, we have to be, we need to be in order to get somewhere. And that gets in the way of actually really being who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And, that really is at the core, of a lot of this, which is the being who we really are. And we have made it not okay. to be who we really are.
Mhm.
It's unraveling that ball of yarn to release the misunderstandings and the fear and the wounds that are there.
Mhm.
Um, I also want to acknowledge your diligence in your research, and that too is very valid. So many people, and I'm just going to come back to the audience for a moment and just let you know, you have every right to be skeptical.
Yeah.
That is your mind and your spirit that wants to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're making the right choices. Now, your intuition will always guide you. It will always have you be at the right place at the right time, with the right person, for whatever lesson it is that you've put out there for. So, there's always that. And also too, if you are just coming in and joining Francesca and I in this interview on transformation, and please pop in a hello, say hi, let us know where you are from. And please ask any questions and comments as we go along in this interview. We're going to be diving into some really cool stuff, like how come transformation works on other people and not me? That in a minute. So, okay. So coming back then to you choosing then the Woman Beat Your Drum program. So even though you did your due diligence, I know when just before we step into transformation, always that moment of fear. It's like, because intuitively we know that the ego that we've had is not going to stay intact in this journey. And so, and the ego knows that. And so things can happen. We can have thoughts like, oh, this is a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't, all of that. So I'm very familiar with that, given that my life is all about transformation. And I can even recognize it in myself when I embark and I put myself in a, like a transformation capsule for a period of time. And there's that initial, but I know, it's like, I am not my thoughts. I am not my body. I am not my ego. And so, yeah. So what is it like just before you registered, just before you went, okay, I'm in? What's the obstacles you had to overcome? What came up for you?
Well, I wouldn't call it fear, Leanne. I would call it abject terror, actually. um, so one of I had like a list of things that I really saw as obstacles that I wanted to explode or implode or whatever. And like top of the list was money, because I had a really damaging narrative about my relationship with money. Um, it wasn't that I didn't have it, it was that I wasn't willing to invest it in myself. Um, I had a real misguided understanding of what that looked like. I thought my regular vacations to Las Vegas, even though I left feeling, I don't drink, I don't gamble, and I don't smoke. But I love the energy there. I just love the anonymity of being there. I would go by myself and just hang out for a few days and spend so much money, right? But that was my thing. It was like, that's my Vegas money. And so when conversations about the tuition for the program came up, and instantly I was like, I'm not sure if this is a great idea or not. What about our trip to Vegas? I mean, all these and I was just like really freaked out, and we had a really excellent conversation about this. And I, was startled to realize that that was a worthiness issue for me, that I did not feel that I was, uh, like I was worth enough to do that. That just seemed like, quote, a waste of money. And then I looked at my spending and went, what have you been doing? And what's it been getting you? Could you please make this investment? You can have a trip to Vegas after, let's try something new. And I had such a such a heaviness in myself during that conversation that I realized that if it was something that I was just supposed to blow off, it would be easy. And it was not easy. And there was a higher voice that was saying, I like her. I want to trust her. Let's do this. Just let's do this. If it doesn't work out, we never have to do anything like this again. I promise. Okay. And so I was like, all right. And when I came to that moment, I was still really scared. But you were so supportive and you worked with me and you helped me to figure out how I could do this without like it being like a horrible burden that I was envisioning. And the more I came to a point of gratefulness for the opportunity and gave that to myself, invested in myself. And I can't tell you, like sitting here with you right now in this moment, there is no price tag that I can put on what we have done to transform every aspect of my life. Every aspect of the way that I engage has been incredibly, profoundly, positively impacted by the last 3 months with you. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I always used to say I'm humbled. I always used to really do that. That was another thing. I'm so humble. Oh, it's the team. It's you. And I thought that self-deprecating stuff was really attractive. Like that made me look like not like a snobby person or not somebody who's stuck on herself or whatever. And I didn't realize that that was a way of harming me. So I don't do that now. Because I was confused. I thought that humility was what I was doing. It was really humiliation. And that was a very profound shift for me. So
Wow.
I can come with humility to experiences now, but not, with humiliation, not being less than, not being power under, not being on my knees, looking for crumbs off of tables. Come on. You stand up, Francesca. You stand up. You've got things to contribute. You are worthy. Get out there, girl. Get out there.
Wow. Yes, love it. And so I just want to come back to the thing that you overcame to do the program, and you shared about that so powerfully. What is it in that moment when you were faced with finding the tuition, and what is it that, if you could say it, like in one sentence, what is it that had you step beyond rather than stop? Because it could have been so easy to stop.
Because once I made the decision, everything just started to like snap, crackle, pop. Like it was on. As soon as I decided, it was on. It was like going from walking in a field to getting your wheels on the highway. And I just didn't question that. That was what I had been asking for.
Yep. That is so powerful, what you just said there. When I decided, because that's the key, really, is we can really want something in our lives. And we want to know that it's going to work out before we put the work in, before we really invest. Is this going to be what I want? Am I going to get what I want? And we want to be assured of all those things. But you can't do that. That would be like, before you get married, going, okay, I want to know that this is all going to work out. This is the first, maybe that's a bad example because I've been married 3 times, but, or you start up a business. And it's like, I want to know, sure, we all hold visions of what we want, but can we be guaranteed that it's going to, you can't control transformation, particularly. And so, when we go into something and we're not really decided, you're still kind of hoping and you're fearful and doubt, because beforehand, before you decided, there was the doubt and all that stuff was coming in. But the moment you decided, you said, snap, crackle, pop, things started to fall into place and you felt completely different inside. Like, even as you were talking about it, we could see how you felt. Like you felt, you were then confident. You knew even though there was still some fear there, but you knew you were on the right path. Good. So let's open it up then to what did you want from the program and what did you get? You know, because maybe they're the same things and maybe they're not. Something you're like, okay, well, I want this and this and this and this, and then you end up getting this, and it's like, oh, well, actually.
Well, I want to just do one quick little aside too, because that moment, that deciding, do you remember we were a few weeks in, we had a scheduled time off from each other. And very interestingly, I had been reconstructing, stuff. I've been working on new habits. And all of a sudden, that same energy just came like roaring up. And all this doubt came in. It was real early. Do you remember that? And I was just, I was like, oh my God, you're right. Yep, failing. It was never gonna work out. Why am I doing this? Wasting my time. I cannot believe, like all this stuff, all that stuff. And I did that for a couple days and it felt awful. Oh my gosh, it just felt so awful. It was a relapse, like a real small little, like spiritual relapse. Fell into all that stuff. And that was also what really, when I got clear, and I just redoubled my efforts, everything that you were teaching me in the program. And that's where it just exploded. Like that was just where it was like, there were just so many things all the time that were just confirming that what I was doing, it was right beings. So
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah, because I'm not easy like that, girl. It's not just like, oh, it's a one-off and then she gets it. No, 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 no. I am a dedicated student. I keep coming back. I keep coming back for more practice.
And that is exactly what you're pointing to right here is what I call getting back on the horse, because we will fall off the horse. When you're at work at trying, and I'm just going to come back to who are here with us, and also if you've just come in and you're just joining Francesca and I, please say hello, send a little note, and let me know where you're coming in from, and ask any questions you want, any. So when we're at work at transformation, we got to cover what it is too. What is transformation? When we're at work at expanding consciousness and transforming our life and who we are, you're breaking old habits and you're putting in place new ones. And you can fall off the horse. You're at work, you're making effort, you're putting in these new habits, and then something happens, like life happens. And that can throw you off. And then, you just stop doing your habits, your practices, and it's like, oh, none of this works. And all of the old stuff comes back. And it can seem like and feel like you've completely wasted your time. And then what you did is you just got back up on that horse, because that's what there is to do. And you got back up on that horse. And that's when you realize, no, those habits that you have been practicing have been making a difference. It wasn't actually that hard to get back up on that horse. And then, things exploded. So awesome. So tell me, what did you want before you started, and what'd you get?
Well, when I was investigating your programs, I really loved the idea of, it sort of encapsulated exactly what I wanted to do, which was like get rid of limiting narratives, get rid of limiting thoughts. Like I was looking at all the stuff that I had constructed it very consciously in my life. I went, why am I still hitting these same things that have always been there? Like, I just can't get through this. I can't get through that. I can't get through this. And it was so exhausting trying to, and it was more exhausting trying to avoid those obstacles. So I was like getting rid of limiting. Yeah. And then that just kind of made this cascading mental list of all of the things. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what they are. They're limiting. They're limiting thoughts. They're limiting actions. Well, Leanne seems to have some intel on this. Perhaps I should sit down and listen to what she has to say. And that was what got me unstuck, was all of the work that we've done around those. And that's the whole point and purpose of the Woman Beat Your Drum program, is to eliminate those limiting thoughts. So those are really treacherous waters for me, because as it turns out, it wasn't about all these harms and injustices that I'd collected, and it was like showing everyone, and why is everybody feeling bad for me? This is boring. And all the stuff outside, all these people out here, all of that, when I could go inside of myself and look at the stuff that was going on inside of me and work on that and shift that and transform that. That's where all of the resources sprang forth from, all of that inner wisdom. And it's not about trusting intuition really anymore, because that's just my nature. Like, that is the way for me. That is just easy. It's so easy to be this version of me. And I have so much compassion and so much empathy, and holding all of that energy behind me in the light, because I was doing the best I could with what I had. I really was. I was not failing. I just didn't have the right tools.
So can you give us some specific examples of what you actually got? Like what areas in your life transformed?
Well, the first thing that pops to mind is my partner was very supportive of me doing this journey with you. He's been incredible through all of it, and he's been really amazing at just kind of like being a mirror for my progress, and it was right after our birthdays, like the end of December, early January, and I had just a really profound epiphany after one of our sessions about why I had, been with him for almost 16 years. He's asked me to marry him for years and years and years. And I was just like, no, we don't need that. We're fine. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I have all of this stuff, and all of this stuff is stuff that I was working on with you. And I was literally making the bed just on a morning, sunshine pouring into the windows. And I just had this epiphany that the stuff that I was carrying wasn't mine, that it was stuff from my history from before. It wasn't the weight that I was carrying and the burden that I felt about marrying him. It wasn't that I didn't love. I love him more than anything, and everything that we went through proved that beyond a shadow of doubt. We're in it to win it. We're always going to be together. I had a failed marriage in my past, and it was devastating. And I just was like, oh God, I'm not good at this, never again. And so during that moment, and making the bed in the sunny bedroom, and I was just like awash with gratitude that he and I have been together for all of this time. Realizing that the stuff that was negative in my mind had nothing to do with him or me, even. It was other. And I just hired out a ceremony and relinquished all of that and gave it back to Gaia, and asked for healing in that space. And the organic, automatic healing that came up in that space was I told Carl that I was ready to get married. And so we're getting married this summer in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm getting my trip to LV too. So that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. What did I get? I did not expect to get that. But I think it was wise to just tell the universe I'm ready to release the limiting thoughts and the limiting behaviors. And this is one thing that I know to be absolutely true. Your realization and your behavior have to be a match. You cannot sit there and say, oh, I'm open to all this stuff, and then do everything that you were trying to do before. It will not work for you. It won't work. It'll be so obvious, So like, give yourself completely to the process. It's not going to be any worse than anything that you have had happen. And I can guarantee it, it's going to be astoundingly, beautifully, amazingly more than you even thought you could have the right to expect.
Yeah, you're right. Let's just kind of take a little expansion there on that, and then we'll come back to more of what you got from the program. But that's bordering the question of how come transformation doesn't work on me? There are, and that's one that you also relate with. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and just how that was, I mean, that would be before the program, clearly. Yeah, works on everyone else but me.
Because I had tried everything already, I thought, and I'd really given myself to, investing into therapy, investing into self-help books, investing into online programs that I bumped into that kind of, but then they ended up being like, what is it's all of it. And so I had like a negative attitude about that too, I think, Um, so I'm sorry. So refresh.
There we're going through the how come transformation doesn't work on me.
Right. And so, and I just,
Oh.
at the root of it, but I didn't know this, is I just didn't think that I was worth it. Like it was just kind of like a fluke if anything happened that, with me.
And yet, yeah. Okay, got it. So so what was there was that you're at the core of it, because you don't always know that at in the beginning. It's kind of like, oh no, it works on other people, but not me. Like I've tried everything. Like I'm so infinite. I'm so wise. So I know I've got this experience. I've got all this evidence I've gathered that it doesn't work on me. So it's like a closed door.
Right.
And it's anything else that you encounter after that. It's like you're waiting, just you're patient enough or kind enough to listen a little bit, and then waiting when you can close the door and go, no. Other people, good, not me, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So so as we continue on that, let's first of all talk about what is transformation. So how would you describe it now?
Wow. It's funny because it's so personal, right? Like it's so interior, but it expresses itself in so many ways in the exterior. Transformation of my life. Oh wow. It's given me like a sense of calm and internal refuge. And at one point, I said that my internal language had changed, how I spoke to myself, because I always spoke previously in a really awful way. Like I wouldn't talk to anybody the way that I talk to myself. And just even a few weeks into our work, I sniped at myself for a perceived mistake. And instantly it was like, oh. And I was like, wow, hun, that's not necessary. Let's not do that. That really injures my spirit to hear you talk to you like that. And it was a dialogue like that I would have with a child or a friend or someone that I love very much. And that was a really huge shift. And after that, then I was like self-referencing as hun and cutie and oh, you're such a funny girl, and oh, you're so, I like making myself laugh, like cracking myself, like, and just having this lightness coming and this joyfulness about that. And you said, Francesca, you're falling in love with yourself, and that was so true. And I was like, why wouldn't I? I'm a ball. you know and that's just been amazing. And so that whole language has shifted, and with that gentleness, so much edge has been taken off of
Yes.
me energetically. I'm just so much more receptive, and I can count on this, Leanne. I can count on this, and I'm so glad that I flipped out a couple weeks in, went off the rails, and then came back with like all that more like commitment and passion to take care of myself this way and to invest in myself this way. Because
Yes.
you're damn right I deserve it, and you're damn right I'm worth it. And when I
Yes.
have that as this, just this cascading waterfall of energy inside of me, I have that to give. And it isn't even like giving. It isn't like that act of giving. It's just flowing. And people
Exactly.
come to it. The dog I take care of
Yeah.
follows me around the house like all day long, just wanting to be in my sphere. And dogs and kids know everything you need to know. And I'm just like, wow, and the kids in my care have blossomed and opened up and disclosed things to me and shared with me and
And
invited me
that's
in.
new. And that's
That's
new, right?
so new. That's
Yeah.
brand new into their vulnerabilities.
Yep.
I am
Yeah.
trusted. I
Yeah.
am worthy of their trust. Yeah.
Yes. So I want to open that up a little bit more for, for our listeners here. And that is because we're talking here about transformation and what it is. And so when we are doing self-awareness work, we can be aware that we've got rough edges or that we're not speaking as kindly as we could or we want to. And then because of the self-awareness, what we'll do is we'll try and speak more softly. We'll try and not have the rough edges. But that's a strategy that we try and put over top of something that doesn't work. It's like when internally what's going on is so much judgment here and so much dislike here. It's like trying to, sugarcoat something that's gone bad. So, then the actions we take, that's when you do courses on, how to speak kindly and how to be more patient and all of that. But it's on top of being impatient, and it's on top of you not feeling good about yourself. And so you just want to spit tacks instead of be kind. But when you transform, it's from the inside. And when you transform, something shifts inside that changes everything. So what transformation is, it's a shift in how you perceive things at a very deep level. So it's not just, but transformation can happen at many different levels, because you can see something differently and go, oh, wow, that's cool. And that's transformation. When you transform something at a very deep level, you're shifting your perception of it. And what often covers up the perception of who we are and what's possible in the world are unconscious limiting thoughts that we don't even question the validity of. And so we go around with these, plastered on our face and in our brain. And then we're trying to express who we are through that. But when they're released and set free, then the transformation, when you perceive things differently, it alters how you see things everywhere. It alters who you're being naturally everywhere. And it's a natural consequence then that you become more attractive, that you just be more loving. You're not trying to be loving. You're not trying to, say the right things so that the girls open up to you. We didn't cover that course. See, because that you're naturally that way. And that's the thing that I love about this, is that when we release those limiting thoughts and beliefs that sometimes have been held so dearly, and we don't realize we're hanging on to them so tightly, when we release them, you naturally access a deeper inner wisdom to then just live. Women lose weight because they always knew what to do, but they struggled with it. It's just natural. Women become more empowered and confident where they never thought that they would, because that is actually who they really are. So it's that expansion into who you really are. Thank you for sharing that. So I was going to jump into, is there anything else you want to say around why it doesn't work on me? Because while we're right here.
Right. I think that you can choose to perpetuate that narrative, or you can consciously choose to disrupt it. How do you actually know that? I mean, from something that happened 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Be here now and really and decide. That's decide that you are worth the investment and you are worth trying. And think of how you would have that conversation with somebody who you loved who's coming to you with that. Do you think I should do this? Absolutely. Do it. You're awesome. Yeah, do it. Have that conversation with yourself. Dare to try. That's what I say.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that you mentioned earlier too, around that moment that you fell off, because that's where people give up. It's like, see, I told you. It's like, yeah, that's because you're off the horse.
Right.
It's not working because you're not using it. It's not working because you're not doing the practices, of course.
Right.
But in that moment, as all those thoughts come rushing back, it then looks like this just never was going to work anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in that moment that you're going to have transformation work in your life, or you're going to be right that it doesn't work on you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
And just like you said, you have the say moment.
Mm-hmm.
So what else would you like to share about what you got, like specifically examples from your life?
What I originally thought that I needed was discipline, which is, semi-true, but that's so militant. And having that militant, intense, edgy attitude about my work was feeling really like coming almost automatically from a place of non-forgiveness already. That's not where I wanted to launch from. So I think like my readiness for this, my openness really informed me. I have one of my parents was incredible and said to me in a conversation, instead of discipline, can you change that word out for nourishing? So you want nourishing effort. You want nourishing routines. You want nourishment from your choices. And that was transformative. That conversation with her was incredibly transformative. And so then I did replace that, and getting rid of that militance was so aligned with, with flow, right? Nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
And just shifting that relationship, like understanding unequivocally that it is my birthright to tap into the cosmic energy that is here for me. I say that the universe and I happily collude with each other about bringing into my life what I deserve and what I need and what I want right now. Not 5 years from now, not 10, no, not in the dead past, not in the imagined future, right now. And I envision I'm getting goosebumps even just stating that, because I can feel that. I can feel that cosmic, everyone's like, ready, what are we doing? It's like all that energy wants to be directed. And so that's the key,
Yes.
and always for the greater good. And always, how can I come from my heart in service to other people? And those people will find you, and you'll know that's your work. And that's what we're here for. Bottom line.
Yeah. So when you are transforming, when you are releasing limiting beliefs and you're expanding into who you are, you attract more miracles. You're listening. So that comment, that your dear friend said, your parent said, and be more nourishing. I mean, wouldn't have been open to that before. It was like the universe then becomes at your service, because it actually really is. If we really, look at it, and I know some people go, yeah, but I've got these things in my life I don't want, I didn't ask for that. And it's like, well, let's talk about that. Because you want to have a look at what some of those limiting thoughts are that you're still hanging on to, dragging around, wearing. Those are attracting and creating with the universe. And is that what you want?
Mhm.
So yeah, that is so beautiful. Uh, all right, there's so
It's
much.
all over my life, you know. I mean, that it just is the way of my life now.
What was that?
I said it just is the way of my life now. And that
Yeah.
openness, and because I had a very adversarial relationship
Mm,
with Cosmos before, you know, and now we're in tandem. Now we understand
beautiful.
each other. We're dancing.
Yeah. So as we're finishing this interview up, uh, for is there any last thing you would like to say to women who are thinking about the program? They're not sure. Yeah, message to them.
Yeah. You know, this is not a program about surface work. This is a deep dive, you know. I think that you really you really have to be at a point where you're at a crossroads where you're willing to try something completely different and to trust in you and your work, and you have an amazing portfolio, and that's for a reason. You know, you're here to do this, and this is your calling. And I think if people are really, really ready for a teacher, really, really ready for a deep dive, you have so many different programs too. You've got the group work. I chose intensive one-on-one with you. That's the other thing. Oh my gosh, I could lead groups. I don't want to. I want to follow, not lead. And this is exactly the right thing for me. So you're very, you know, you're so happy to meet people where they are, to work with them across all those barriers. But you're going to be your own biggest barrier. So get down with that. Get rooted with that. If you're tired of being so exhausted from resistance in all these different aspects, and so tired from just carrying the burden of these heavy narratives and all this stuff, like give yourself a break. You know, you need to know you are worth it. You do deserve
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you. And is there anything else that you want to say about the program that I haven't asked you?
it. Gosh, you know,
Covered so much.
this has just been like so, it's so amazing. And I think yeah, okay, yeah. So um I think also that's really, really key is it's not that you know, finishing the length of the program is the destination. This is like the launch pad for everything to come. You know, you were like walking on a dusty road before you're about to be in a rocket ship going straight up, you know. So I mean that's the that's the transformation, you know, is finding yourself where you need to be, and being in conjunction and in harmony with the energies around you. And that makes you like this incredible conduit that you can give. And as women in particular, we are trained to give until it hurts. I'm saying you've shown me it doesn't have to, and it shouldn't, and it can be just like the trees being, right? You're just there, you're available, you're tapped into source, and everything blossoms and grows like time lapse photography style, up and out from that. So I say the risk lies in being stuck. The risk lies in lacking courage and belief, and the freedom comes from deciding. So decide.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. And the truth that I found really is that the courage really is inside.
Everything is inside.
It is, yeah. And um, yeah, the moment we just stop and pause for a moment, something opens up. So, Francesca, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing so vulnerably and openly with everybody. And for those of you who have been listening in or watching the replay, please, if you haven't yet, say hello and just to, let us know you were here. Any questions you've got, please write them. And, we're going to go back through and we're going to answer all your questions. And thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being interested and committed to something bigger in your life, because I know that's why you're here. because you know and you can sense that there's something else that's awaiting and available. So if you want to talk about Woman Beat Your Drum, if you want to find out about it, also put a comment in there and let me know so we can be in touch. All right. Mwah! Francesca, thank you. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. Have a great day.